there are different things that make me happy, like a peppermint mocha. So would it be a moral obligation for me to enjoy a peppermint mocha? That way everyone around me is happy. Am I having this mocha for the greater good?
I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. And you go in, but there's a tile missing in the ceiling. Mm-hmm. Will you be able to focus on all the beauty around you or the missing tile?
I would focus on the tile. It would drive me crazy. We had 3 miscarriages. But something just kept pulling on me just to try one more time.
Hello, and welcome to the Brent and Peck podcast. This week, we're going to do something a little different because kids were sick and we were unable to meet with our guest. So my wife is digging me out of the deep end and saving me, and we're going to talk about one of the books that I've read and really liked. So thanks for joining me again.
Long time no see.
It has been. So we're going to talk about a book by Dennis Prager called Happiness is a Serious Problem. And just going to give you some of my thoughts and see what you have to think. And
okay, let's do it.
One of the things that stuck out the most in reading it is a statement he made somewhat close to the start that happiness is a moral obligation.
Mm-hmm.
And his argument is if you want everybody to be happy, it starts with you, and those around you pick up on your moods. So if you want everybody around you to be happy, which I think everybody wants others to be happy, right? If you want what's best for them, then you can help them be happy by being happy yourself.
But are we responsible for other people's happiness? Shouldn't each person be responsible for their own?
Yes, and that's part of his argument is that we are responsible for our own happiness, but our moods affect other people. Okay. So if I'm being negative or down and being a negative Nancy, that's going to bring the mood of everyone around me down. There's lots of different research that shows like if you sit within 15 feet of a high performer, your performance goes up like 15% at like work. It's kind of that same concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've told me that before.
Yeah. But I thought it was an interesting idea that it's actually a moral obligation.
And so he's saying it's an obligation to basically help your fellow man. That's what makes it an obligation?
We affect those around us.
Mm-hmm.
So to do good by others, we should work on being happy ourselves so that it lifts those around us up.
Okay.
Just okay?
I'm just sitting here thinking, there are different things that make me happy, like a peppermint mocha. So would it be a moral obligation for me to enjoy a peppermint mocha? That way everyone around me is happy. Am I having this mocha for the greater good?
Well, he defines happiness a couple different ways. I guess he kind of shies away from fully defining happiness. He kind of defines it in terms of unhappiness a little bit. Like one of the things is a lot of people can be dissatisfied.
That's true.
But being dissatisfied doesn't mean you have to be unhappy.
Okay.
Dissatisfaction, like creative people who paint are never satisfied with their own work, right?
That's true.
Like you've painted and
Mm-hmm.
you've always picked apart, like, oh, I didn't like this part.
The artist will pick out their flaws more than anyone else.
Yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
always dissatisfied. But if you weren't dissatisfied, you wouldn't be driven to improve.
It's true.
But you are happy when you're painting, even if you're dissatisfied with what you're doing.
So would you say there's a difference between being satisfied and being content and being happy?
Definitely between being dissatisfied and being unhappy. I guess it depends on how you're defining content. Another one of the things he talks about here is one of the prerequisites for happiness is gratefulness. that you can't be happy if you're not grateful.
That makes sense.
So you can be content, you can be happy, but you can be dissatisfied.
Okay.
Maybe you are really looking forward to a promotion. And so you're dissatisfied with where you're at.
Right.
You're not content to just stay where you're at, but you are happy. And at some level, you are grateful for what you already have. He lists out a bunch of different things that interfere with happiness. And one of those he calls like the missing tile. And the missing tile is, let's say you walk into one of the cathedrals that are really famous. And I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. And you go in, but there's a tile missing in the ceiling. Will you be able to focus on all the beauty around you or the missing tile?
I would focus on the tile. It would drive me crazy.
So would most people. And so his argument there is in learning to be happy, sometimes there's going to be missing tiles and we have to make one of a couple choices. You either have to replace the tile, you have to get a new tile, you have to choose to let it go. And I forget the other one, but there's only a couple options around it. But you shouldn't let that missing tile destroy all your happiness. And I kind of look at that the same way with like, if you're going for that job promotion, it might be the missing tile. Like that's something that's just really bothering you. You really you're really noticing it. The illustration he gave for like the missing tile is, I believe him and his wife had 2 kids, but he was really feeling an urge to have a 3rd kid. And that was his missing tile. And that could have gone one of a couple ways. They could have decided, we're not having any more kids and we'll replace that tile by spending more time on our marriage or with the kids we already have. Or they could have the child and they had a 3rd child and that filled that tile for him and been very happy. But he was grateful for the kids they already have.
Right.
Like, that didn't mean he wasn't content or dissatisfied.
I mean, I can relate with that 100%. We had our oldest, and then after her, we wanted more, and we had 3 miscarriages. But something just kept pulling on me just to try one more time. And I kept feeling, you could have a son, we could have a son. I don't know why it was specifically a son and not a daughter, but that was just what I felt pulling on me. And so we decided to try again, and we're blessed with our son and got one more after that. But I completely relate to that.
Just that missing
Not that we
piece.
didn't love our first one. Not that, she wasn't enough. She was insufficient. She was absolutely perfect, absolutely beautiful part of our family. But I had this pull. I guess you would say I wasn't content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were happy.
Absolutely. I loved our little family.
So back to your original question, I would say there's a difference between contentment, satisfaction, and happiness.
Makes sense.
A lot of people use that dissatisfaction as a motivation. Like that dissatisfaction, whether with your artwork or dissatisfaction with not having another kid that you were really wanting, or dissatisfaction with not having that promotion. You can use that as your motivation.
But I think there's a flip side to that. And you can also feel defeated and overwhelmed and just want to give up.
You can. Part of his argument is we have to choose happiness. Happiness isn't necessarily an emotion. It is a choice to a level.
So I hear you, and this is very interesting, but what would you say to someone who has experienced trauma or abuse or something like that? Like, how do they choose happiness in the middle of trauma?
Some of that can be feeling like you have meaning in your life. Like one of the drives that people have more than anything is a feeling or desire to have meaning. And that he talks about that in two forms, that there's a purpose and meaning to life in general, and that there's a purpose and meaning to my life. And so he gives the example. There was a prisoner in a torture camp. He talks about some of the gulags and different stuff like that. And the prisoner was in an isolation cell, but was happier than the guard guarding him.
Yeah. I've read some of the stories of the Holocaust and everything. I want to read more, but one that I specifically remember was Corrie ten Boom. And she just had such forgiveness in her heart. Truly remarkable. After everything she went through, she could still find that happiness. It was amazing. And she's been a huge inspiration to countless people around the world.
Yeah. I agree. I think what I'm trying to highlight there is happiness is a choice, because you see people that have things a million times worse than we ever have it. And you have people that have it a million times worse than that. And you see some of those people insanely happy. And then he talks about, like, if being successful or not having those trials or traumas, just having things really easy meant for happiness, then why do so many people after they get out of like Hollywood or fame write memoirs of how miserable they were, how unhappy? They were successful. They didn't have some of that trauma. They didn't have a lot of that stuff. So you can have crazy successful people that are miserable and unhappy. And you can have people that are going through literal torture that are some of the happiest people in the world.
Yeah.
And some of it just comes down to a choice. I'm going to choose to be happy. And like you said, some of that's a prerequisite of that is gratefulness.
I would say it's more than just one choice. I choose to be happy. Like someone that's been in trauma and abuse, I'm going to choose to be happy today. And you get out of bed and you have a smile on your face and you think, this is the day I'm going to be happy. And then something happens that you can't smile through. I think it could possibly, for me in my life, be a series of choices. I'm going to see a counselor. I'm going to take medication. I'm going to have a support group. I'm going to be faithful in these activities that are good for me. So I don't think it's just a one-time shot. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to choose this. I think you make all these other choices that can bring your happiness in.
Yeah, and he kind of talks that way throughout the book. That's like if he lists, I want to say it's 7 different things, and I don't remember what all they are, but like 7 things that he called out. There's more, but that he called out in the book that impede happiness and his recommendations for addressing them. The missing tile was one of them. Another one is victimhood. Like, and he very carefully calls out, that's not to say there aren't victims out there, because you wouldn't say that person in that torture chamber wasn't a victim. They were. But they choose not to see themselves as victims.
I think this is all good, and I hear you. And I agree we need to make choices to better ourselves and better our lives. But I think you are also allowed time to grieve.
Oh, yeah.
And time to process what you're going through. When I saw those ultrasounds and the heart wasn't beating, if someone had told me in that moment, well, you just need to choose to be happy through this, that would have done more damage to me than helping encourage me. I needed that time to grieve.
Yeah.
So there has to be a balance here. It can't just be all, well, you got to be happy. It has to be all, there also needs to be take time to rest and grieve and process and just rest for a little bit.
Yeah. And I don't think he's arguing necessarily, yes, lose a baby or get tortured and be happy about that. But I think he's arguing in general, strive to be happy.
And I can agree with that. I think we should want to be happy in our lives. I'm just also saying there's a season for everything.
Yeah. And he talked about different things like that. On like the lighter end of the spectrum, a lot of people, like if I asked you to try and define happiness, how would you try and define it?
I mean, I told you peppermint mochas make me happy.
A lot of people use the word fun.
Okay.
And so he talks about like people say the more fun I have, the happier I am. And it's almost kind of like a quota of fun, which is why people quite often will consume like amusement parks as an example, consuming amusements, whether that's entertainment TV.
What is that old saying? He who dies with the most toys wins.
I haven't heard that.
You've never heard that? Oh,
no. But everything in balance. He said, like, if it was just all fun, then every party we go to would just make us happier and happier. And we don't see that. But fun does have a time and place. It can increase happiness.
yes.
But he likened it to use fun as like a spice, not as the food.
I like that.
It adds more flavor. It makes the food enjoyable to eat. Without the spice, the food would be bland. It would serve only nourishment. But you're not going to eat just straight spices and be able to live off of it.
But there is also ways to sprinkle in smaller doses of fun. Like, yes, have your big seasoning amusement park type fun. But I had fun playing dolls with our daughter the other day.
Yeah.
Our son, I taught him how to open a can of corn, and that was fun, having him dump that corn in the pot. Like, there are small things that you can turn and make fun.
Yeah. And he made that same argument. He said, especially when you have to do things you don't enjoy, find ways to make them fun. He said it's very hard for him to sit down and write. So he
writes books.
He does things to try and make that fun. So he'll use colorful pens.
Oh, that's cool.
And if he's typing it on a computer, he'll switch out his keyboards to different colored keyboards or fun keyboards every so often, or a different mouse, or get the best monitor that's the most vivid and enjoyable. Like, find ways to have fun with things that you have to do that you don't necessarily enjoy.
I like that.
But yeah, he said just sprinkle it in. It's not go live at the amusement park.
So help me figure out a way to make dishes and laundry fun.
I can do my best to help you think of that.
Okay, that would be great.
I think the most fun way for you to do that is say, Brenton, go do the dishes so I don't have to.
That does bring me happiness.
Teach the kids chores.
Our oldest has been helping with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But another interesting thing he talked about was expectations.
Now that's a good one.
Expectations, unmet expectations, are the cause of frustration. And this is a painful point for people. One of the examples he gave is the advice you hear from everyone. If you want to interview for a job and you want to get it, you need to walk in there expecting to get it. It's all about how you carry yourself. You expect to get it and you'll get it. And that works for, the one person who got it. But what about the other 250 people that went in with that same attitude and didn't get it? But then walking in with that expectation, oh, I'm going to get this. Then they feel that sense of defeat and letdown. He said you should have very limited or few or no expectations. There are certain expectations, like a child can expect unconditional love from their parents.
Agreed.
A wife can expect her husband not to beat her. Things like that. Like, there are reasonable expectations, but expectations should only be something that is guaranteed to happen.
And what do you do when those expectations aren't met?
Then
when the wife is in a domestic abuse situation, when the child is neglected, like you're saying, that's an expectation that should be non-negotiable, but unfortunately our world doesn't work that way.
And part of his book wasn't to address a lot of that. I would say in those situations, there's probably a lot more that needs to be done in counseling or get out of the situation or whatever you have to do. But his point is like, there are some reasonable expectations that we should be able to have. But like, I shouldn't necessarily even expect, meaning it's going to happen without a reasonable doubt. I shouldn't even expect that I'm going to wake up tomorrow. And the reason is when you expect something, you're not grateful for it. So like tomorrow, if you wake up and you're fine, you probably wouldn't think anything of it. But if you had cancer today and you didn't know if you were going to live tomorrow and you woke up tomorrow, how excited and grateful would you be?
Yeah.
You're not grateful for news about your physical health. Like, we ignore it because we just have the expectation that, oh, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a call from your doctor, hey, this tumor isn't cancerous. Now you're grateful. But if you have that expectation that it's just a given, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, you don't wake up with that same gratitude in the morning. And he's not saying you shouldn't aim to, you shouldn't have goals, you shouldn't act as though it will happen. But he's saying don't have that expectation.
I totally agree with that. The pregnancy with our son, after the 3 miscarriages, it was hard to keep my hope up that it wasn't going to be another loss. And first doctor appointment comes and we're at 5 weeks and everything's okay. And then I'm holding my breath and it's 6 weeks and everything's okay. And 7 weeks is okay. And 8 weeks is okay. Every time I went in there and there was a heartbeat, I can't even express how grateful I was. We should be grateful for every child, every baby, but after that loss, to experience that was a huge amount of gratefulness.
Yeah. And he talks about that a little bit, like you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Right.
And so when you just have those expectations, that you lose out on that gratefulness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he said,
I hate to think of people having to go through something hard, though, just so they can learn to be grateful.
yeah.
I hate that idea.
Oh, I don't think he was arguing that you have to go through something bad. Just usually people wait until something.
Mm.
It's I'll use budgeting as an example. People just expect they're going to be able to pay their bills. And if you just have expectations, then you don't plan ahead. You don't budget. You don't do this. Like, it's just, oh, the money's always here and this is just always what it is. And you might not be grateful for your paycheck. But if you took the time to budget and plan, then you don't wait till calamity happens to be grateful because you're addressing things ahead of time. He used the example of grief, actually. Especially people like Christians or anyone religious. Quite often you'll see someone, they'll have a loved one pass too early and they'll say, I can't believe in God anymore. And almost in every case, it's people who didn't think about ahead of time and reconcile in their mind the concept of a loving God with calamity in the world. People who did take time to study that ahead of time before they'd had any grief already had a worldview that could incorporate that. So he's not saying like you need to go through something tragic so that you can be grateful. He's just saying sometimes people wait until something tragic instead of learning and studying ahead.
So he's saying that people who already had a worldview that God is loving didn't hurt as much when something happened?
I wouldn't say that they didn't hurt as much, but let's talk in terms of mental health. If you wait until you're in a depression to learn skills to manage depression, how much capacity do you have for that? If you learn skills for managing depression while you're not depressed, then you have those tools at hand to help with the depression. It doesn't lessen the depression, but then you have tools to use while you're in it instead of having to use those tools and learn how to use them and do all that while you're already in a depression. Same kind of thing. If you face the concept that God is loving and there's evil in the world and bad things happen, and you develop a worldview that can incorporate that, then you're prepared for when bad things do happen, if they happen. But if you never think about that, if it's just all rainbows and unicorns and then something bad happens, your world's shattered. And you don't have the tools to address it while you're struggling.
I'm going to push back on that one a little bit. I've been a Christian my whole life. I was a children's pastor. I was the youngest credentialed pastor for the Assemblies of God in the state of Oregon. Like, I had a very real relationship with God and the Bible and everything. But then when these miscarriages happened, I had been through some loss before they happened, but when these miscarriages happened, I struggled in my faith with God. God, why did you let me conceive if you knew it wasn't going to make it? Why do other people addicted to drugs and alcohol and with no home, why are they allowed to have children and mine are taken? So I'm going to challenge that because I knew there was a loving God and that bad things can happen. But when those things happened to me, I still struggled a lot. I didn't even want to talk to God. So I'm going to push back.
No, I think that's valid. And I don't think he's saying you won't struggle. It's just, if you haven't prepared at all, you're going to struggle more.
Okay.
But I'm trying to think of other things out of the book.
So if happiness is a moral obligation, what would be the opposite of happiness?
Well, unhappiness.
No, I'm saying we're responsible for our happiness because it affects the mood of everyone around us. So, and that's the moral obligation. We're helping everyone around us. If I am not happy, if I'm in unhappiness, then I don't know how to say this. I guess the moral obligation then would be to choose happiness.
And I want to be cautious here because happiness isn't necessarily a black and white thing. It's not an on-off. And he didn't phrase it that way in the book. The concept, like the chapter title, is obviously going to be short. So happiness is a moral obligation is a great slogan. But working it out, he delves more into working towards happiness, working to be as happy as you can, removing things from your life that are causing unhappiness, bringing things in your life that are causing happiness, but also realizing that, like he talked about the concept of no pain, no gain. Quite often the things that we're the most proud about were the things that were the hardest that we went through. It's not something quite often that's surface level. It's, there's illusions of happiness. Like you might be happy eating a good meal. You might really enjoy fast food. But if that's all you eat all the time, that makes you less healthy and you end up less happy.
Right.
Who's happier, the person that is really struggling with their health or someone who has to forego some of those things that maybe make them happy in the moment, but their overall health is better and they can go do other things they enjoy and want. So like part of his argument is working towards being happy, bringing those things in that add lasting happiness, not necessarily those temporary things, and taking those things out of your life as much as you can that make you unhappy. Mm-hmm. If it's a missing tile, what do you do with it? Either you need to replace it or you have to choose to live with it and figure out how to do that and not let it take all your attention.
I guess what I was trying to say, if happiness is a moral obligation for everyone around me and I'm unhappy, am I intentionally harming everyone around me? You could even go far enough and say, am I sinning against people around me if I'm unhappy?
I think everybody's going to experience times of unhappiness. I don't think that's saying you like being happy at every point in time is a moral obligation.
No, I get that. Yeah.
So I don't think that just because you're unhappy, you're sinning. Mm-hmm. But I do think if you choose to live unhappy, if you're not striding towards being happy, if you're striding towards being more angry, say, or more unhappy, if you're striding towards never being grateful for anything, I don't think that's a good way of living.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think that's kind of roughly paraphrased of what he said.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's a hard concept because there
really
are things
is.
that make you genuinely unhappy. Mm-hmm. And he's not saying you're a failure just because, let's say your best friend passed. And so you're not just going to be shouting for joy and happy. There is valid grieving. Mm-hmm. He mentioned something else in there that was a little intriguing that you don't think of. Jewish tradition, I don't know what to call it, but a lot of the traditional Jews, they even have a a prayer of thanksgiving or prayer of thankfulness that you say after you've used the bathroom.
Really?
Thank you for the orifices that opening and the orifices that should stay closed, staying closed. And the idea is that same thing. Like if you just take something for granted, there's people that can't control their bowels. And they don't get to just go use the bathroom like we do. There's maybe people that, if you really need to go, that for whatever reason, they're unable to, let's say constipation or something. So even something that, how could you be grateful and express thanks for using the bathroom? It's like, no, even something like that. Like when you start looking at those things around you, there's a lot we can be grateful for.
Yeah.
And gratefulness he views as like, there is no happiness without gratefulness. Right. Like he views that as a prerequisite. So you want to increase happiness. One of the ways you do that is have more gratitude in your lives.
That's very interesting. I never would have thought of a prayer at that time.
Yeah, me either.
The Jewish culture, I am really interested to research and study more about Jewish culture and religion. Yeah. I think there's a lot there that would be really cool to learn.
You want a major mind bender?
Tell me.
He said in the Jewish tradition, God's love is not unconditional. He even sets out, I forget the part of the Bible where he talks about the love he has for his people, the people of Israel, on when they follow his commands, stuff like that. And he talks about even that, like, children have a right to expect unconditional love from their parents. But that is a childish concept. Part of maturing is realizing there is conditions to love. Like if I was beating you every day, that is a condition that's been broken that you shouldn't continue necessarily that love. You may act and treat me out of love, but you shouldn't just stay in and love me. Like, there are some expectations. We have those even when dating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do things to earn your love.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there are conditions even in the Bible. God loves everyone, but a condition of forgiveness is confessing your sins and repenting, right? Like, there are conditions to things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's unique for kids in that kids can and should expect their parents to have unconditional love, no matter what they do.
Yeah, I agree with you. And kids will rise up to meet the expectation we set on them.
Yes.
And
But
kids, go ahead.
I was just going to say a lot of people, like, we tell everyone God's love is unconditional, or, you know, you should have unconditional love for your spouse. And he talks about that in that same set of expectations. And that's where a lot of couples go astray is I expect you're just going to be there when I wake up in the morning. I just take it for granted. If it's unconditional love, I just take it. I can do whatever I want and you're still going to love me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I view love as a little more conditional, then it's like, no, I'm going to continue to work to earn your love. I did it when we were dating. Why wouldn't I keep earning your love? Not necessarily that we should have to earn each other's love, but we should kind of view it that way, because then you're not just taking it for granted. When I wake up in the morning and you're there beside me, I should be grateful because you do still love me. It wasn't something that I should just take for granted and expect.
This is making me think of a previous guest you had on, Elizabeth. She had been married for 50 years and her husband died due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I remember her saying is that she wished she had been even more grateful for him.
Yeah.
And had spent more time with him, had done more with him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've found this is one of the books that has really challenged me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not always an overly emotionally expressive person.
No, you're not.
I'm not super playful in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So like our daughter asked me to go play dolls. And the other day I was like, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. I'll think about it. And I kind of push back because it's uncomfortable for me. Like, I don't play with dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's way outside of my comfort zone. But thinking in terms of this, like, what if I didn't have this opportunity to play dolls with her?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, you shift that on its head and it's like, wait, I should be grateful for this opportunity to be able to go play with her.
Mm-hmm. I've heard people say, like, be grateful for dirty dishes because that means you had enough food to eat, and be grateful for toys to pick up because you had happy children running around and stuff like that. I've heard that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He did talk about in the book, religious people, for the most part, regardless of religion, tend to be happier. And one of the reasons is a lot of religions have traditions, and a lot of those are prayers of being thankful.
Mm-hmm.
We are literally training ourselves with routine to be grateful for something.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for this food. Even if we say it without fully understanding or grasping it, going through the motions of something still has an effect on you. Words have meaning. And so saying over and over and over, thank you for this meal, thank you for my family, thank you for whatever, like those expressions of gratitude that we say constantly do help us tend to be happier.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. I never thought of that. That's cool.
Yeah. I'm still rereading back through the book a little bit more because there's topics that I really want to hang on to a little closer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the impediments that I started to touch on, I forgot to keep going, was victimhood.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about victimhood. Making yourself a victim of something is an impediment to happiness. Because if you're a victim, there's nothing you can do to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about victimhood being the easy way out.
Yeah.
When he was a kid, he made the commitment to not take the easy road, to always put in the work. And he realized
That's
that
powerful.
taking the victim stance was the easy road out, because then I'm not responsible even for my feelings. Someone else did this to me. So I should just feel this way. And he talked about like self-pity. There was a lot of research done. Self-pity is addictive and exhibits a lot of the same symptoms and brain function as like an addiction to drugs. That self-pity is addictive because then you don't have to take responsibility. It's the easy way out. Someone else is to blame, all of those things.
I'm going to push back on you again a little bit. Maybe my mama heart is speaking tonight, but when I went through those losses, it was all, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? Why did my body fail? So I had to go through that. I had to work through that process. I had to get to that healing. But I wasn't wrong for asking those questions or thinking those thoughts.
No.
It was something I had to go through.
Yeah. But, and I think he would agree with you, and I agree, yes, you're going to have those thoughts and those feelings, but you didn't choose to stay there and live in that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what he's referring to, is choosing to live in victimhood and move in that route. Because you could have stayed in that, and that self-pity and woe is me, like, this just defines me. There's nothing else I can do. This is just proof I'm a bad person, or however you want to take that. Like, that self-pity can be addicting, because then you don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to work. You don't have to, I don't know how else to say it, keep moving forward with your life.
And that was the deal. I did have to keep moving forward, but I also had to take that time to just breathe and process through it. I didn't get over it like that. It took time. I had to just rest. That's what my mind, my body, my spirit, my emotions needed at that time.
Yeah.
To be able to move forward, I had to be able to sit in that for a minute.
Yeah. That's something I'm interested to study more in Jewish tradition. I could be completely wrong with this. I don't know the exact period of grieving, but they set aside more time for actual grief than most people. It might be a year of grieving or something like that. And they have, I want to say there was processes and things they go through to follow through in their grief. Like, I wouldn't, because Dennis Prager's Jewish. I wouldn't say he's saying that you shouldn't have those feelings of like, this is my fault, or why did this happen to me, or any of that. I wouldn't say that's his argument in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. The argument is choosing to stay there is not a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying everything has a season.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I'm curious if you had any more thoughts. I've gone through most of what comes to mind for me. There's so much packed in such a small book that it's hard to keep all of it straight.
I don't have any more thoughts about the book. I do want to say, if there's any women out there that have gone through loss and you're thinking about trying again, there are different things I tried that made it so we could carry full term. So if you're interested to know the things that worked for us, just send a message and I will be more than happy to reach out and connect with you and share with you everything I went through and everything I know, because I've been there. You're not alone. Just reach out.
Yeah. It helps to have someone to walk through things with you.
Someone that's been through it, yeah.
Yeah.
But there is hope on the other side.
Yes, there is.
And there are things that you can do to help.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, I think that's all I had.
Okay.
So thanks for watching the Brent and Peck podcast.